welcome to Sports Update with Kate. I am your host, Kate Adams, and we have a special guest, actually a returning guest, Richard Dixon. He was the most productive tight end in LSU history, also a former Detroit Lion. So thank you for coming back, Richard.
Thanks for having me.
A lot has changed since you came back, huh?
Yeah, it's looking pretty nice. You got more stuff on the desk. Everything was ready when I got here, and it's looking good.
It's awesome. So we're here at Scoreboards. This is a great restaurant over here right off Coursey. The address is 10655 Coursey Boulevard. It's a really great place to come, get some really good food. They've got daily specials. I think today's special is some chicken Alfredo. So you got to come check it out. And look, they've got TVs in every corner. So this really is the place to come and watch all your games. So speaking of games, there was a pretty big game that happened last night. Saints at Panthers. The Saints were able to come out with a win, but I would say the win was a pretty ugly win. It was very much a defensive game. The Saints won 12 over the Panthers, who only were able to get 9. All right, I know that you didn't catch all of that game, but the Saints just need one more win to clinch home field advantage for the playoffs. And you played in the NFL. Did you go to any playoff games? Were you in the NFL?
No, I played for the Detroit Lions. We weren't the best team when I was there. But, the parts of the Saints game I did watch, what's encouraging is the way the defense is playing right now. I think they had another 4 sacks last night. With what we know what the offense can do, and as explosive and high scoring as they can be, if the defense can keep playing that way, I think last night you can kind of look at it as a positive. You didn't get the offensive production we're used to, but the defense is still playing strong. I mean, I think that's 2 or 3. I know the last game they had 7 sacks, 4 sacks last night. The defense line's getting a lot of pressure. I think it's encouraging.
No, it definitely is encouraging when the defense can step up in those moments that the offense really isn't playing their best game. And I think one of the things that is really hurting the Saints at this moment is their offensive line. Right now, they're kind of lacking depth in their offensive line, especially last night. Max Unger, the center, out with the concussion. Don't know if he's really going to be back for next week's game against the Steelers. So how big of a deal is it to lose your center? Because, look, he's the guy that's giving Drew Brees all the play calls. I mean, Drew Brees really relies on this guy and has all season. So how big of a deal is it to lose a center and a guy like Max Unger?
Typically in college football, I think it's even a bigger deal because the center is the guy that's going to make all your line calls. He's going to identify the mic and kind of set your pass protection and slide the line whichever way they need to go. In the NFL, I mean, Drew Brees, he doesn't need the center to make those calls for him. He's going to, declare the mic, make the protection calls. But it is, as far as comfortable, he's been with this guy. It's a guy that he's used to leaning on, a guy that he's used to taking snaps from. It can make it a little bit more uncomfortable, but as far as getting the pass protections and getting all the alignments and the calls done, I think they're going to be just fine with Drew making the calls.
Now, one guy that did finally become active last night in the Saints game was Will Clapp, a former LSU player, finally was able to become active. We haven't seen him play all year. Is it important for Will Clapp this late in the season to play, or what's good about him coming in at this point in the game?
Honestly, for him, it's really just getting credited games. And, I don't know if I haven't kept up with Will that much. I don't know if he's been on the practice squad. I think he's been on 53-man all year long. But, as long as you're on the 53-man roster, you're making the same pay. But just for him getting the confidence and getting to prepare, knowing that he's going into the game and there's an opportunity to get on the field is big early in his career.
Okay, one guy that did finally show up in a big way last night was Eli Apple. Eli Apple was able to get a pick, a really important pick that kind of turned the game around and changed the momentum of the game. I want to talk about the addition of Eli Apple, how effective you feel that he's been since he came on the Saints.
Yeah, I think it's big. It wasn't a secret that we were struggling with the secondary. We needed another guy to complement Lattimore. Getting Apple, getting another guy, a proven veteran, a guy that's been there. He was a high draft pick. He's got a lot of talent, and to make plays, especially be on that other side of the young cornerback, I think it's big. It's another guy that can go out there and lock down, and I think it's really shown the way the defense has played lately.
All right, so a lot of people are a little worried because Drew Brees hasn't been as effective as he was in the beginning of the season. He was throwing a gazillion passes in the beginning of the season, touchdown after touchdown, probably even after last night's game. We're all wondering, is he still going to be considered for NFL regular season MVP? Do you think he still has a shot at it, or what does he need to do to still have a shot at getting an MVP?
Definitely, he still has a shot. You know, he's going to have games like that. He's been all year long, been over 70% completion percentage. I know in the last couple of weeks it hasn't been his best games, but that's kind of what we were just talking about. The way the defense is playing right now, it's encouraging knowing that the defense can be that strong, and our offense hasn't played the best in the last couple of weeks. When you put both those together, I think it's going to be really strong.
Okay, so what is it that the offense, I guess, really needs to do? Because it seems like they've kind of taken their foot off the gas pedal and they're struggling. Were they just on fire in the beginning of the season and they're not really that way so much anymore, or what is it?
Yeah, you know, just sometimes everything doesn't click. They're not making the big plays. I think, you know, Drew Brees was averaging somewhere around 5 to 6 yards of completion percentage. Your running backs, Alvin Kamara had 67 yards. They were both averaging 3 to 4 yards a carry. They weren't hitting the big plays. The yardage, they had over 100 yards more than Carolina, but they just weren't getting in the end zone. And especially late in the fourth quarter when they were going to do that final drive to kind of run the clock out and getting the touchback, fuming in the back of the end zone was a scary moment for them. But then again, the defense came out and shut down Carolina.
That was definitely a scary moment. I felt like all Saints fans in that moment were on pins and needles watching that game because it gave Carolina a chance to come back and win the game.
Yeah.
Thankfully, Cam Newton couldn't make it happen. And look, Cam Newton kind of struggled all game. I know that he's suffering from a shoulder injury right now. But another thing about Cam, and I don't know if you've noticed this, it seems like he really uses his upper body when he throws, which kind of makes him more of an inaccurate passer. If he kind of used his whole entire body rather than just his upper body, I feel like he could be more accurate. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, you know, Cam's just inconsistent. There was a big play right there in the fourth quarter on the final drive. I think it was second down. He was kind of fading, and he had an opportunity to hit the guy for the first down, but when he was fading, he came over the top of the ball, and he's throwing the ball with the nose down, and it makes it a little bit harder to catch. But, you know, Cam, he's a solid player. He just didn't have the guys and couldn't make the plays last night.
All right, another guy we need to talk about, this guy, Dante Jackson, former LSU defensive back. He had an incredible game last night. Had a pick too, which we don't really see very often, or really almost ever. Dante Jackson was on fire. Look, he's a rookie. I mean, what do you have to say about his performance in last night's game?
Man, Dante Jackson been the biggest surprise to me because he was a great cover corner in college. I wouldn't say great. He was good. He's very fast, long. He had all the size and speed and everything you look for with the ability, but he was that typical guy. The reason he plays cornerback and not receivers because he didn't have hands. I remember so many times in his career at LSU of interceptions that he could have had that he dropped. He just never was a very good ball-skilled person, but the way he's playing in the NFL is completely different. He's making plays. He's going out there and getting the ball. I mean, he's improved tremendously to me in the NFL.
Well, he definitely used to play track, and I think one of his coaches was talking about him. It's just like he kind of floats across the field. I haven't seen a guy as fast as him in a really long time, and man, I mean, he just had an incredible game. I know that he is a Panther, but I had to bring him up because he is a former LSU player, and he had such an incredible game. I'm trying to think. Let me just kind of look. Okay, so this is kind of an interesting stat really quick. So since 1998, the Saints haven't won a game with 13 points or less. They won last night with 12 points, but they're 0-35 since 1998 winning a game with 13 points. I mean, this was definitely a defensive game, but just kind of talk about that point I just made and
especially with the offense we've grown used to with the Saints. It's been high flying, scoring over 30 points a game for most of the season. But what we're talking about is, when the offense struggles and they're not making the plays that we're used to, but you're still able to win the game. There's one goal in football is to win the game, no matter how many points you score. If it's 3-0, 2-0, whatever. But to win that game 12-9, just with the offense not hitting on all cylinders and the defense coming out and making the plays, especially in that right after that touchback where they fumbled in the back of the end zone. They came out, you got a sack on a play. You got good pressure by Eli Apple. I mean, the defense just came out, and the game was in their hands at that point, and they took it home.
All right, 2 critical regular season games left for the Saints. They're both at home, though, and ever since Sean Payton and Drew Brees have been together, they have never lost a playoff game in the Dome. Okay, so do we think that they can do it with the Steelers, and then they've got Carolina again?
Yeah, the Steelers are going to be a good game. I hate the way it works out where you got to play the Carolina twice in 3 weeks. I mean, to me, that's absolutely ridiculous. When you got a 16-game schedule, they should never let that happen. But, after this, I think that'll be a lot tougher game than the Steelers, the way it lost. The Carolina Panthers have confidence right now. They didn't have their best offensive game either, and they held such a high-scoring offense to 12 points. I think that they'll take care of business with the Steelers, but that final game against Carolina is going to be the tough one that I would think of.
I think so too. And when they have a guy like Christian McCaffrey, look, I mean, he had such an incredible game last night. I mean, I don't really know what it is that Christian McCaffrey can't do. I mean, with that 50-yard touchdown pass to Manhurst, that was absolutely incredible. I just haven't really seen a player really like McCaffrey. Talk about what his addition to the Panthers really means to them and how it helps them out.
Well, he's just such a versatile player. Anytime you're getting a guy that's going to take 15 carries, get 8 receptions, throw the ball for a touchdown, I mean, he's really doing everything. To me, he's kind of similar to an Odell Beckham as far as versatility. Odell takes a lot of fly sweeps, reverses, and then he's thrown 2 touchdowns this year. I think he's 2 for 2 with 2 touchdowns. Anytime you have a player, another guy. I'm not the biggest NFL guy, but Taysom Hill with the Saints, he's another guy, just a utility guy that can run the ball, throw the ball, catch the ball. Anytime you have players like that, especially in the NFL when you're only going to have 53 players on a roster and they can fill that many positions, it's very crucial.
I mean, Taysom Hill, I think he's the first quarterback in NFL history to ever block a punt for that one that they had last week. I mean, that's pretty crazy because he's still listed as a quarterback. But do you consider him a quarterback?
No, to me, I think that's the funniest part for a guy that you're never going to see a guy listed as a QB and then start on all your special teams. I mean, I know that it's fun to talk about the QB that's doing all this stuff, but to me, he's an H-back type player, a receiver, but when he can throw the ball and get back there and run that Wildcat offense, it's always fun to watch.
It really is fun to watch. The only thing is he did have a drop pass last night. So we want to make sure that the Saints can clean up some of those penalties and some of those mistakes, especially when they make big plays and then they get a penalty that makes them suffer. So definitely something I think that the Saints are planning to work on. Also, third down conversions. They need to find a way to get better in converting their third down conversions. I mean, do you agree?
Oh, third down conversion is crucial because that's where you're trying to keep your offense on the field, keep their offense cold. And good teams are usually got a high percentage on converting third downs. And the Saints, that's something that they can do. It's something they've struggled in the past with because they're kind of a big play team. They get a lot of big plays on first and second down, and that kind of it throws the numbers off a little bit when you're not getting in a lot of third down situations.
Well, also, it doesn't help when you're trying to add wide receivers like Des Bryant. He gets injured. Then Brandon Marshall, he gets injured. And then Michael Thomas really hasn't been having his best games lately. So hopefully they can figure something out with the wide receivers, get their passing game on again, even though they do have one of the best quarterbacks in the whole entire league, Drew Brees. But I think that, and I hope that they do get it together for these next 2 regular season games. And when it comes to the playoffs, they can't make those little mistakes, and they've got to be able to convert when it comes to third down.
Yeah, last night was interesting with Michael Thomas because he still had 9 targets and 7 receptions. He's completing the ball at a high percentage on his targets, but when you look at his receptions, he had 7 receptions for 49 yards. They weren't taking a lot of deep shots. They're hitting a lot of slants and shallow routes, and they weren't really pushing the ball down the field.
Well, I will say I was a little happy that Michael Thomas didn't have the best game. This sounds terrible because the guy I was playing against in fantasy, he had Michael Thomas, and I needed to win that game last night.
I had Michael Thomas, and I needed to win that game, and he didn't help me at all, so I was upset on the other end.
Yeah, I did end up winning, though, so I'm still moving along.
I haven't even looked because I didn't have a good shot to win last night.
You didn't have a good shot. Well, no. I hate to hear that. I'm sorry about that. All right, we do have to take a quick break, but we are here at Scoreboards. The address is 10655 Coursey Boulevard. It's right here, right off Coursey and Airline. It's a really great spot to come get some good tailgate food. And look, you've got to come out here, watch the games, and just catch up on all your sports because they literally have a TV in every single corner. They've got daily food specials and really good holiday drinks. So come out here, try it, and look, come see us. We're here every single Tuesday at 12 p.m. So this is a great spot to be. We've got to take a quick break, but we'll be right back.
We'll know more about it.
Your dad gave me his baby to go pick up your brother from the airport.
Oh, honey, just take Mom's car. She just had navigation installed.
I totally got this. We were just there.
Hey, isn't that...
Yep. I programmed the airport in, just in case.
You don't need a new car to have new technology. Mike's Audio, conveniently located on Airline Highway near the corner of Bluebonnet.
Hi folks, Clarence Buggs here. Coach Roger Cador would take the time to tell you how to catch our brand new show, The Roger Cador Show, but as you can see, he's kind of busy right now out at Scoreboards, Baton Rouge's newest sports grill with food that is absolutely amazing. Catch the show 8 o'clock Tuesday nights, 6:30 p.m. on Wednesdays, and on Pelican Television's YouTube channel as well. You want to come out and have a great time. It's awesome, isn't it, Coach? Mm-hmm. Told you.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. Nothing could ever bring me down. Taste the feeling.
Welcome back to Sports Update with Kate. I am your host, Kate Adams. We've got former LSU tight end, actually the most productive tight end in LSU history, a former number 18, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Which is a really special number to wear if you play for LSU. Richard Dixon, thank you for being here, Richard.
Thank you for having me.
Richard also is a rising star in the sports broadcasting world because tell us what you do for ESPN.
Well, typically, with Charles, I do the post-game shows and we do the Friday shows. And then, on Friday afternoons, me, and Matt, and Hester do a show. And typically, that's just a fun show. It's a bunch of our buddies, guys that, we play together, still hang out together. And whenever we can get together and I'll be there for a show, it's pretty fun.
Did you ever think that you were going to get into broadcasting kind of after your football playing days?
No, because I'm really terrible at public speaking. It's easier for this, because you're not seeing everybody right in front of you. But I can remember in college, like one of my final credits was public speaking because I kept dropping it. I would never get past like the 5-minute speech. So I never thought that I'd get out talking. But usually if we can talk sports, I feel pretty comfortable doing it.
Yeah, it's a fun thing to do. So we're glad to have you. Okay. Now, LSU is playing in a New Year's Six Bowl. They're playing in the Fiesta Bowl. A lot of people thought that LSU probably wouldn't even be more than 6-6 for the season. They're 9-3 right now, number 11, and they're playing against number 8 UCF in the Fiesta Bowl. Now, UCF right now has won 25 straight games. I think they're one of the only teams, at least for right now, that's been able to do that. So, yes, they're not as a big time conference school or anything that LSU's going up against, but they did beat Auburn last year, I believe, in the Peach Bowl.
Yeah.
So what is the biggest challenge for LSU going up against a team like UCF?
Well, to me, you can talk about their schedule and their strength of schedule and that they don't play a lot of people, but anytime you can win 25 straight games, I don't care if it's in Pee Wee, high school, middle school, college. I mean, that's incredible. And so what they're doing over there is really special. And there's just it's a good football team. They're scoring over 40 points a game. Defense is playing strong. I think giving up around 21 points a game. It's just a really solid group of guys, and what they're doing out there, they're really explosive play. Because I looked at some stats earlier. They're ranked 3rd in the country in total offense, but they're ranked 26th out of 2019 in the time of possession. Which you think they're the best offense, but they're ranked one of the worst 3 teams in time of possession. So to me, that's telling me they're scoring on a lot of explosive plays. They're not keeping the ball in their hand a lot, and then their defense is staying on the field a lot more than the offense. I think it's a good matchup for them. The way they throw the ball, we're going to be down 2 DBs. Christian Fulton's out with an injury, and then you got
Greedy Williams.
Greedy Williams, who he's leaving early. I'm not sure what Battle's punishment's going to be. I thought that they might suspend him for the little scuffle after the A&M game, but it sounds like it's going to be handled internally, and he's going to make the trip to the bowl game. But that, to me, that's where the matchup's going to be, is on our young DBs covering their receivers. I'm glad Devin White's coming back, especially with Jacob Phillips being suspended the first half. I think it's going to be a really good game and a great matchup to watch.
I really do too. And look, the fact that Devin White is playing is so huge. He just won the Butkus Award for being one of the best defensive backs or the best defensive back in the whole entire country. And he cares so much for LSU and for the state of Louisiana playing for this school. I've never really quite met a player who literally just wants to leave his mark on the university. Look, he said, one of the things that I've always wanted to do is be the best defensive back that ever played for LSU. I don't want to be like, oh, well, he's right underneath so-and-so or right underneath that. And he said, I don't know if I felt like that I've done that yet. And I know that he really wants to bring a championship to LSU, which he wasn't unfortunately able to do this year. So what are your thoughts? Do you think he's going to stay another year? Or do you think he's going to go? Because we all know that he's going to be a first-round draft pick in the NFL.
Yeah, there's not one person that should be telling him to come back to LSU. I mean, it's a different day and age. When I was playing, you had guys like Glenn Dorsey came back, and he was going to be a top pick, and we ended up winning a national championship. But when you see the things that have happened, and there's so much money involved, when I was younger, I used to think, stay with your team, stick with them. But man, when you go back, and especially now, and when I've grown up, and you see what money can do for your family, and the risks that he's taking by stepping out on that field, to me, it's just honorable that he wants to go do it, and I'm happy for him, because nobody would have blinked an eye if he decided to sit out this game. I think, to me, honestly, Greedy Williams, as a DB, you can avoid an injury a lot more than a linebacker. That's a position that you can go out and play safe in your bowl game and really stay away from contact. I think that cornerback should, Greedy really has more reason to play versus Devin White. Being a guy that's in the front seven and he's out there against the line, there's a lot more people rolling around your knees and it's a lot more dangerous spot. But for Devin White to come out there and do that, it just shows what type of guy he is.
Well, it definitely shows what type of guy he is. He's an incredible guy. He also just won an award with LSU. LSU had their awards last night, actually, this past Monday night. So he won, I think it's the Charles McClendon Award. So it's presented to the most valuable player on the LSU football team. I definitely think that Devin White is deserving of that award.
Definitely.
I mean, have you ever interacted or did you play with any guys that kind of remind you of Devin White or who kind of had the heart and soul and were able to just care so much about their university and really truly want to play for that place?
Yeah, I don't know Devin very well. I've seen him a few times out at practice, never really sat down and talked with him. But, the group of guys I played with in 07, we won a national championship. We had a lot of guys that were just really cared about this team. We spent a lot of time, extra time in the field house, running 7-on-7, doing extra routes, working with Matt and early Doucette. There was a group of guys there that just wanted to win so bad. We had Glenn Dorsey coming back. In 2006, we actually had a more talented team. We had 4 first-rounders, but we ended up, not making it. So for me, when you get special guys like that, man, it would be awesome if he came back and you had that core leadership. But, Devin's he's a special player, and it's time for him to go on to the NFL.
I agree. I really actually hope that he does make the decision to go to the NFL. Selfishly.
I wish he'd come back. But honestly, I understand what he's got to do.
I mean, if he came back, that would be absolutely amazing. And I know some, I think Patrick Queen tweeted, Devin staying. I heard him in the locker room talking about he's staying. But I really think that he'll probably tell us in some creative way in the end that, hey, I'm going to go ahead and move on.
If you remember this time last year, Darius Geis was doing the same thing. He kept saying, well, I think I'm coming back. I haven't told anybody I'm leaving. I want to come back and win a championship. After this game, he's keeping his mind focused on this game, which is the right thing to do. You're still part of this team. But, I don't think it will be shortly after the game that decision will come.
All right, going back to the bowl game, LSU struggled last year against Notre Dame in their bowl game. So one thing that we were talking to Foster Morrow about, he said, look, you got to have fun. Sometimes when teams are too serious, thinking, okay, well, we got to do everything right, this and that, they don't execute as well. When they kind of go into it more with a mentality, hey, we're going to go out there, we're going to have a good time, play this last game with all of our boys. Do you think it makes a difference to kind of have that mindset and that mentality?
I think it depends on which bowl games you're in. If it's a game like this where you're not playing for the national championship, yeah, I think you got to go in there with a fun mindset and keep everybody fresh and alive. But I can remember back in 07, when we were going to New Orleans for the national championship, it wasn't a fun week. We weren't going down there to party. I mean, you get it out your system the first night, and then we kind of made a decision as a group that we were going to stay in the hotel room, keep it low key, and keep our minds focused on the game. So I think it depends on what you're playing for. This is a big game for LSU. They haven't been in the New Year's Six Bowl since 2011. I think that there's going to be an intense focus, but they're going to have a good time going out to Arizona.
I think so too. One of the things I think is kind of interesting is the new swag that they do for all the players for these bowl games. I think LSU this year, they're in the PlayStation Fiesta Bowl, which means they get like a PS4 Pro bundle, which I think includes an actual PlayStation. It includes that new game Red Dead Redemption. It includes all these different things. Technology is a big thing for bowl games this year as far as swag goes, what all the players get. Has that changed since you were playing.
I forgot what bowl game. We got a Wii one year, but it wasn't a PlayStation 4. I think we got a Lazy Boy one year.
The chair?
We got a chair,
okay.
yeah. Then one year I think we had a gift certificate to Best Buy. But yeah, they got some pretty sweet gifts this year.
So you played in the national championship, and then what other bowl games did you participate
I played
in?
the Sugar Bowl in 2006, and the Sugar Bowl for the national championship in 2007. Then we played in the Peach Bowl in 2008, and then 2009 played Capital One game, which we don't talk about because that game was miserable and we lost to Penn State. And then there was no grass on the field. If people remember, they played 3 games on this field in a matter of like 3 days. I mean, we were picking up sods of grass in the middle of the game, just trying to get your foot down. But yeah, the Sugar Bowl was always fun. I thought the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl was a good one. And I just don't remember the Capital One game.
Yeah, you don't need to remember it. You just kind of blocked that one out of your memory because, hey, it wasn't a good memory at all. But, I mean, you definitely got to play in some of the major bowl games, especially the national championship. I want to just, do you have any quick stories about the national championship or maybe your most memorable moment?
Man, the national championship game was just, to me, it really is a blur. I remember there was so much media involved. There was such a hype with being the national championship in New Orleans. We had so many family members down in town. I really don't remember anything leading up to the game. I don't remember bowl week. I can go back and look at some of my other bowl games and remember the events they had lined up for us going into it. But national championship, the first thing I remember is sitting in the locker room before the game, and I remember Skip Bertman coming in and talking to us, and then Coach Miles, and just the way Skip Bertman talked about championships, because he won so many as a baseball coach, and then come in there as our AD and give us a little pregame speech. I mean, that's the first thing I remember. I can't remember anything that happened the week before that.
No, Skip Bertman, I've met him a few times. He does give incredible speeches, and it's like he talks directly to you. Even if he's talking to a group of people, he's still talking directly to you. And I could see that being a really motivating speech. I also can see how the entire game is probably a huge blur because it's just so many things going on at once, so many emotions and that sort of thing. So basically, all right, for UFC, LSU, UFC is going to be out with.
We're not fighting them.
We're not
play
fighting.
UCF. We're going to play UFC. I'm just picking.
No, did I say UFC?
Yeah, we're not fighting them.
It's all right. It's all right. Well, UCF. Excuse me. It's hard. Or we could fight them.
Yeah.
But we need to come out there fighting, though,
Yeah,
right?
Definitely. They got to take it to them like they're playing any other SEC game. They don't need to look at them as a smaller school because honestly, they're ranked above LSU. LSU is really the underdog in this game. They're not coming. They don't have a 25-game win streak. They're not ranked 8th in the country. I think UCF is, they want to beat another Power 5 team to prove that they should be in the playoffs. LSU, to me, it's not a game to overlook. I think it's a very well matched up game. I think it's going to be a tough game.
Well, you bring up a good point, and I wanted to ask you about this too real quickly. So you said UCF, I just wanted to make sure I say it correctly. They want to beat LSU because they want to be considered in the playoffs. When you win 25 straight games for 2 seasons, you wonder why you're not in the playoff picture.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're not part of a big conference. Do you think that they need to try to either, one, add more difficult opponents to their schedule? Do they need to try to join another conference? What is it that UCF needs to continue to do so they can be considered as one of the people to play in the playoffs?
Well, they have to schedule Power 5 non-conference games. If you go back and look at their schedule, they only played one ranked team, being Cincinnati. If you look at Cincinnati's schedule, they only played one ranked team, being UCF. So they're not playing these teams that are going out and week in and week out battling good teams. Yeah, they have a great conference record, but their conference is a weak schedule. To me, they got to go out and schedule your Floridas, your Miamis, Florida States. I saw an interview with Dan Mullen. Dan Mullen's trying to schedule them, and they're not agreeing to it. If they ever want to be considered in this conversation, they're going to have to go out and beat your Floridas once a year, beat your Miamis, and play those schools so that you can build your record.
And that's not the easiest task either. That's something, LSU's schedule, I think they went up against, at the time, 6 top 25 opponents throughout this season. I mean, that's crazy. We were able to beat a good bit of them, but, the loss against Texas A&M really hurt us. But look, we are in a New Year's Six Bowl. I know that's really important to LSU. Do you think not having Greedy Williams and Christian Fulton is a major factor, or do you think that it's going to be okay for LSU without those guys?
No, I think it's a huge factor considering that they like to throw the ball. They're a team that had 28 touchdowns on the year. They only threw, I think, 6 interceptions. they're going to come out slinging the ball around, and we're going to have to really focus and get our young DBs ready to play, because having two shutdown corners like a Christian Fulton and Greedy Williams not being there, they're going to come out, and I guarantee part of their game plan is to attack these young corners. So it's going to be a very interesting matchup from that standpoint, and you can only hope our D-line and our linebackers can get enough pressure on the QB.
I hope so too. And look, UCF's QB, he's not terrible. The backup guy that they've had coming in, he's not a terrible guy. And so look, I think that Devin White, he's going to have to put pressure on the QB. Like you said, we're just going to have to put pressure on him. I want to switch gears really quick. Wednesday is tomorrow. It starts the signing process for early signing. Only 2 days of it. I think Coach has like 16 home visits in like 17 days. Well, let's just kind of talk about the recruiting process right now. LSU has 19 verbal commits for early signing. What does a verbal commit really mean? Do you feel like these commits are actually going to follow through?
To me, it's a different day and age. I don't really pay attention to recruiting until after signing day, because you see it every year. All these guys who commit and they flip on signing day. When we were coming through, I mean, I want to say once you committed, it would basically shut it down. And I can say in my recruitment, I committed to LSU in October my senior year, and I had canceled all my official visits. The only time I threatened to go on my official visits where LSU told me they were only signing 2 tight ends. I committed. It's the second one. They had already had J.D. Lott. And then I found out there was another one coming on a recruiting trip. So I called the coach and said, well, y'all told me y'all were only signing 2. You're still recruiting tight end. I'm going to go back on my visits. So they called me back and they canceled the recruiting trip and said, no, look, cancel your visits. We're done. This day and age, I think the early signing day is going to help, because you have right now, to me, if you have guys committed on your roster or on your team, committed to your signing day, and they don't sign in this early signing period, to me, you can't trust that they're going to sign in the late signing period. So I think it's really going to help. If the guys who are committed, you should have all 19 guys sign in the early signing period. Because the ones that don't sign, to me, really aren't committed. You can't look at them as a true commit, because if they were really truly committed to you, they'd have already signed.
So for LSU, when you committed, do they give you any type of certificate, or what do you get when you commit?
Congratulations. I mean, it's really nothing. Commitment just means you're telling them you're going to come there, and that used to mean something. I don't know if it means somewhere as much now. You see these guys who commit as freshmen, sophomores in high school, and then they've committed to 3 or 4 teams by the time they actually sign with someone. To me, that's what I tell you. In recruiting, I wait until signing day, and once they got the piece of paper with the name signed across it, that's when I start paying attention to who they are.
Well, look, we are glad that you came to play for LSU, because like I said, you were the most productive tight end in LSU history, former number 18, former national championship. A very big deal to have you play at LSU, and we're so glad to have you here on Sports Update with Kate. For the first time ever, we're actually going to have 2 different guests. So I've got waiting patiently Chad Mahaffey. So when we come back, we're going to have head coach of U High football, Chad Mahaffey, join us. Richard, thank you so much for joining us and kind of giving us some input on LSU. Look, we are here at Scoreboards 10655 Coursey Boulevard, right off Coursey and Airline. Come here to get the best tailgate food. They've got daily specials, snow crab specials, holiday drinks. They've got it all. So this is the place to be. Definitely come out and see us. We've got to take a quick break, but we'll be right back.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. Nothing could ever bring me down. Taste the feeling.
Hi folks, Clarence Buggs here. Coach Roger Cador would take the time to tell you how to catch our brand new show, The Roger Cador Show, but as you can see, he's kind of busy right now out at Scoreboards, Baton Rouge's newest sports grill with food that is absolutely amazing. Catch the show 8 o'clock Tuesday nights, 6:30 p.m. on Wednesdays, and on Pelican Television's YouTube channel as well. You want to come out and have a great time. It's awesome, isn't it, Coach?
Mm-hmm.
Told you.
Look, your dad gave me his baby to go pick up your brother from the airport.
Oh, honey, just take Mom's car. She just had navigation installed.
I totally got this. We were just there.
Hey, isn't that that?
Yep. I programmed the airport in, just in case.
You don't need a new car to have new technology. Mike's Audio, conveniently located on Airline Highway near the corner of Bluebonnet.
Welcome back to Sports Update with Kate. I'm your host, Kate Adams. We've got head coach of U-High football, the undefeated Cubs, Chad Mahaffey, here with us. Thank you so much, Chad, for coming in.
Glad to be here.
Glad to have you here. Okay, so you've been with U-High for 9 seasons, that's right?
Right.
Okay, back-to-back Division II state champs. And then undefeated, 13-0 for the season. I mean, just talk about this season. How do you go undefeated like that? I mean, is this your first undefeated season as a coach?
No, we were undefeated last season as well. We really had a really strong senior class, very talented group, probably the most talented group that we've had in my time at U-High. And, they did a great job of obviously being the good football players that they are, but did a good job of being good leaders for our team. It was really a close senior group, 24 seniors, I believe. And, just week in, week out, they came ready to play and just really did a fabulous job.
So you talked about the 24 seniors in your on your team, and look, being able to play in the Dome for the state championship, how special is it to those guys to have that opportunity?
It's something I think really unique with Louisiana high school football, being able to play where the Saints play and in such a nice building. Everybody, of course, wants to be a state champion, so wherever that game was held would be special. But there's certainly something that I can remember as a kid. I wasn't able to play for a state championship, but we're able to play it two times there in high school, and that was just a big thrill, And so I know our guys enjoy that.
I mean, it's really cool because getting to play in an NFL stadium, I mean, they don't really get any other opportunities besides the state championship, right, to do that. Is that correct?
Well, typically, no. Every now and then you can schedule a game, might be at a venue like the Independence Bowl has hosted some games, and I know some of the college stadiums in New Orleans and Lafayette. But typically, to do something like that in the Superdome is pretty special. And obviously, a little bonus is it can be bad weather at that time of the year. It's nice to be indoors and have the weather not be an issue.
It's definitely nice to be indoors, and look, the Dome, they keep it really cold, and they keep it cold on the field, so that's a good thing. One thing I want to talk about, look, so undefeated this season, y'all defeated Zachary, who were also state champions. You also defeated Catholic, who was a runner-up in the state championship. How do you go about moving forward through the season, beating bigger teams like that? Is there a process, or during training during the week, is there something you do differently when you're going up against bigger opponents like that?
No, for us, each week we try and be consistent. We're not going to really change the preparation, so to speak. I think each team has a different kind of game plan or strategy based on matchups and things like that. And usually the biggest thing for us if we're playing a team of that size is depth's going to be, not in our favor. We're going to have more two-way guys and things like that. So we try and be conscious of that. But as far as the preparation, obviously those are two really good opponents. But we're not going to necessarily change what we do during the week based on who we're playing.
Now, I actually had the chance, because I also work at the radio station, I was the one who aired all the U-High games, and they had this commercial in there. If U-High scores 21 points or more, you can get a free appetizer, this and that. Well, y'all almost scored 20. I think y'all always had extremely high scoring games throughout the whole entire season. What is it about this team that y'all were able to rack up the points like that throughout the season?
Yeah, we appreciate the Piazza family for making that promotion, and hopefully they didn't get burned too bad on it. But, for us, I think our guys, each time we went out, we talked about, trying to play up to our capabilities. We knew we had a experienced group coming back and a talented group, so I think, there was a lot of expectations on them. They had a lot of high expectations for themselves. And so really our challenge as coaches and players was, hey, can we play as best as we possibly can? And I think in the biggest games, throughout the season, they really did a good job of that. And that was really our simple focus was, can we get up to our potential?
Now, you're dealing with kids in high school, which, they're younger than college and NFL. So what is it like coaching the younger generation? I mean, what challenges present itself when you are coaching guys that are younger?
Well, I think a lot of things you're going to see are, good days and bad days, or things that guys really bring out of you that are fun. As I get older, I understand less and less of whatever their little sayings or things are. But our guys enjoy being at practice. We're tough on them as coaches. We push them pretty good. But we try and, make it competitive, make it fun at times, and I think that they thrive on that. I think with any teaching, coaching young people, they're at that age where, rule following is not always what they want to do. We joke about it being in their DNA of just, if we told you to wear this, they want to wear something opposite, or if we told them they couldn't do this, they want to do it. It's just kind of human nature. So that comes with the territory, but for most part, it's fun being around those guys and seeing them have fun with each other.
Well, one thing that was sort of fun, or I don't know if it was fun for you, but I thought was really interesting was all the players, or not all of them, but a lot of the players dyed their hair blonde for the state championships. I kind of just want to hear the background story on that, why they did it, what was the motivation, did you know they were doing it, that sort of thing.
No, not really ever sure what those guys are going to try and pull off. Our school, there's really not a rule with hair and things like that. So from that standpoint, we don't have to worry too much about it. It's probably something that seems like every year, the group decides something they want to do for the playoffs. And so this year, started showing up to practice and seeing pockets of blonde or orange hair, and so that's just kind of what they went with this year, I guess.
So are a lot of them still rocking that blonde hairdo right now?
There's been a few that have tried to cut it out with varying levels of success. Some have gotten some dye jobs done that are more believable than others, but I think parents want to take Christmas pictures are probably the most upset.
I would agree with that. I'm sure they're like, why did you? And they kind of did the yellow blonde, not even not the white icy blonde. Yeah, different levels of bleach. So were they just all in the locker room one day and just all started dyeing their hair, or they just kind of started popping up?
They just started showing up. Give different guys maybe different weeks. I'm sure some took more convincing than others, but like I say, it's one of those things that. Kids, I think jokingly after the game, somebody had asked me, I just said, well, teenagers make bad decisions. That's part of what they do. But, at the end of the day, it's something that they rally behind, get excited behind. Good for them. Hey,
whatever it takes, you guys are back-to-back state championships. So obviously something is working, whatever it is that you guys are doing. Y'all are also number 15 in USA Today in the nation. I mean, I want to talk about being ranked number 15. What does it mean to you, and what was the process in getting to this national ranking?
Well, I think for us, again, our focus has really just been on can we maximize our potential as a group. Whatever that leads to, great. Certainly striving to be a champion and do the things that champions do. I think the rankings, especially on a national level in high school, something really difficult to do. I mean, you got all kinds of size schools, makeup of schools. They don't really play teams, common opponents. I mean, honestly, a lot of that really comes from, we had a successful season the previous year. We had a lot of guys coming back. We had a lot of high-profile guys who are going to sign with major colleges. So probably more than anything else, that's really what it stems from. But, as many schools are playing football in America, to have somebody think of you that way, that's certainly a nice honor for our kids in school, and I think those kids have enjoyed that recognition.
Look, I definitely think so too. When I heard that you guys were nationally ranked, at the beginning of the season, I was like, wow, this is really impressive. I'm not originally from Louisiana or Baton Rouge, but just having a local school like that, being able to be nationally ranked, I think is a huge feat, especially here in Baton Rouge. Look, I want to talk a little bit about the state championship game. Okay, you guys defeated St. Thomas More 55-46. It was a really high scoring game. Lots of records broken in this game. Most combined total yards, most combined pass attempts, most first downs combined, most penalties combined. I mean, what was it about this game that made it so explosive?
Well, I think you had two offenses that had, obviously been pretty successful throughout the season. When new coming into the game, St. Thomas More, they'd average about 60 points a game. Had been, really one of the best offenses in Louisiana history. Great quarterback, good offensive staff, good O-line, good backs, receivers. I mean, they really kind of had everything you wanted. And obviously we'd hoped to not giving up as many points, but knew that realistically there was a challenge there. And I think, we did a great job in the first half, created some turnovers. I really feel like our offense could have, put up some more points and maybe got a little separation. And then in the second half, I think they executed on some things better and probably some of the fatigue. They had some long drives, which wasn't beneficial for us. But overall, their kids made some really good plays. And I thought even when they did, we had guys in position a lot of times that did a good job, just, bang, bang plays, and their kids made some. But, as it went on, it just kind of had that feel of both teams were having a hard time stopping each other and hopefully, no big mistakes, to kind of close it out, and we were able to do that.
Was there any point during the game that you felt like a certain play or something happened that kind of changed the momentum of the game in order for you guys to get the win?
Nothing that really, until we kind of got that interception very late in the game. I mean, of course, felt pretty good at that point. But really, there was just so many, back and forth plays. And I think that's a challenge in a game like that. You can look at a lot of different things and say, I'm sure they're sitting there looking at film and going, God, if we'd have done this or this on these plays, would the outcome have changed? And we look at it the same way, even though it came out on top. You can look at plays and go, man, could we maybe bettered our position? But really, just for a championship game, I think that's kind of what you expect is two teams battling very hard, and both teams really were dealing with some cramps, some adversity, and sucking it up. And I thought our kids played really hard, and theirs did too.
Well, definitely both teams played hard because it was 55-46 in the end. And look, U-High was able to come out with the win, which I know was really important to you and everyone else. But look, we do have to take a quick break. We are here at Scoreboards. The address to this place is 10655 Coursey Boulevard. It's right off of Coursey and Airline. This is a really great place to come out, watch all the games. They've got TVs everywhere. We've got people all in here watching it. You've got to come check us out. We're here every Tuesday around 12 o'clock noon, so come and watch this show live. Like I said, we do have to take a quick break, but when we come back, we will talk some recruiting because you guys got some really great guys that are going to some really major schools. So I want to talk with Coach Mahaffey about that. We have to take a short break, but we'll be right back.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. Nothing could ever bring me down. Taste the feeling.
Hi folks, Clarence Buggs here. Coach Roger Cador would take the time to tell you how to catch our brand new show, The Roger Cador Show, but as you can see, he's kind of busy right now out at Scoreboards, Baton Rouge's newest sports grill with food that is absolutely amazing. Catch the show 8 o'clock Tuesday nights, 6:30 p.m. on Wednesdays, and on Pelican Television's YouTube channel as well. You want to come out and have a great time. It's awesome, isn't it, Coach? Mm-hmm. Told you.
Look, your dad gave me his baby to go pick up your brother from the airport.
Oh, honey, just take Mom's car. She just had navigation installed.
I totally got this. We were just there.
Hey, isn't that...
Yep. I programmed the airport in, just in case.
You don't need a new car to have new technology. Mike's Audio, conveniently located on Airline Highway near the corner of Bluebonnet.
Welcome back to Sports Update with Kate. I am your host, Kate Adams. We have head coach of the U-High Cubs, Chad Mahaffey, also state champions of this year's Division II state LHSAA state championships. Thank you so much for being here, Chad.
Well, glad to be here.
All right, Chad. So you've got 24 seniors. The majority of them going off to college, right?
Everybody will be going to college. Hopefully, everybody won't be playing football, but we do have a large number this year that will have that opportunity to play on the next level.
Now, I've got a list of guys right here, and you can correct me if I'm wrong with some of these, but I want to just kind of go through this list, talk about those players and different things. So, okay. Brighton Constantine, he's a linebacker. He's signed to Clemson. Kind of tell me what goes on in the recruiting process. Are you there when the other head coaches come visit? How does it work?
You know, typically there's kind of some pockets of time where the coaches really come out and evaluate. A lot of them, you know, are now it's kind of moved forward so far. When we have spring football, that would say that's kind of that first time where they're coming out, really getting a good picture on either juniors and sophomores to kind of have a picture of, you know, who they want to see in person and how they practice, how they perform, things like that. So in the spring, we're typically very busy with a lot of the schools coming in. Then the players will, you know, usually go to different camps at the schools that have mutual interest in them over the summer. Now some of them are doing visits because of this early signing date. You know, they might take visits in the spring and summer. And then, you know, throughout the season when teams have bye weeks, you know, they'll come by and check out a game or visit with a player or two. And then it really kind of cools off. Of course, they're busy with their season. Once their regular season ends and our playoffs are kind of going, it kind of picks back up. You know, those guys get out on the road. They want to go to visit high schools and try and prepare themselves for this early signing period. And, you know, that'll happen tomorrow for an early signing period. Then there'll be a couple weeks of kind of what I think they call a quiet period where nothing really interactive is going to happen. And then the big signing day will be in February. And again, when we come back from school, there'll be more coaches coming by and kind of trying to do not only wrap up that year's recruiting class, but again, get that early look on the next year's classes.
I'm curious, so some guys that may not sign in early signing period and then the final signing period, maybe they don't know what they want to do after high school, that sort of thing. Do you guys allow them to kind of come back and train with you if they do want to consider themselves to try to get signed with maybe a junior college or, you know, a smaller university or something like that?
Yeah, you know, well, we want to do whatever we can to help our players. You know, some of these guys are fortunate to have a handful of offers now, and they've been able to make those choices. Some guys, it just takes longer. A lot of the things filter down, you know, where you know, a school may get in a bind and they're short a position and they're starting to look, and maybe somebody they missed over in evaluations. For some guys, there's some grade concerns, and a lot of schools might wait on them to see how they finish up, because now more than ever, you know, they've got to be able to make sure those guys are academically qualified. But as far as us, you know, we always have kids kind of around and working out or doing things that if they feel can help them, you know, stay in shape and all that to prepare. But the good thing is now, once these guys sign, they're able to have a lot of interaction with that college program, their strength coach. They can get those workouts and kind of get started even before they're on campus.
That's really cool how they do that. I was just curious on that process. Another thing that I'm wondering, I want to go through, you've got an Alabama commitment right here. Now, is he just a verbal commitment to Alabama? He most likely will sign either in this early signing period or the following. Christian Harris. So talk about Christian Harris, what you've seen from him. He's a linebacker now. Alabama's known to have huge linebackers. What's this guy's stature? How does he play? I want to hear a little bit about him.
You know, Christian's kind of a unique guy. For us, he really plays wide receiver and cornerback. He's probably one of the bigger cornerbacks in high school history, about 225, 230 pounds. He's just been a skill player his whole life, something that was very natural for him. With that frame, moving on to the next level, you know, I think teams are interested in trying to, you know, make him more of that linebacker, rover type position. So it's something that he'll have to adjust and learn to. But for us, really dynamic playmaker, very skilled kid. He's probably about 6'2", like I said, about 225, 230, and one of our fastest kids. So tremendous player for us, and I'm sure he'll do very well at Alabama.
Look, I mean, I'm sure he will as well, especially under Coach Nick Saban, one of the best coaches in college football. A guy that I do want to bring up, he's not a senior, but he's a junior, Jaquelin Roy. I hope I said that right.
That's right.
Is a verbal commitment right now to LSU. Talk about Jaquelin and his performance this season.
You know, Jaquelin's a big defensive tackle. He's probably 6'3", 6'4", about 300 pounds. Very athletic kid for his size. I think most guys at that height and weight in high school tend to be a little sloppy with their body and stuff, or can't move that well, and that's what makes him special. Very good athlete, plays in the backfield on some goal line stuff for us, and just again has all the potential in the world. Really, you know, a guy that I think, you know, has a chance to blossom and just be a really dominant force for us next year.
Well, hopefully, and then especially having a Louisiana guy getting to play at University High, the lab school for LSU, and going on to LSU is really cool, I think. Question about that though. Do a lot of people feel like they have to come to U High maybe in order to play for LSU? It's not really a feeder school necessarily for LSU. It's just LSU's lab school, right?
Right, yeah, we're a unique setup at the lab school. We are technically a division of the College of Education. You know, as employees of the school, we are LSU employees, although we kind of work under that lab school heading. You know, so I think that, that we're not a feeder school of any kind for LSU, anything like that. But obviously, you know, with LSU employees, whether they're coaches or just people that work in the school, there's a lot of children that go to school there. So there's a very close relationship between our school and LSU, and that extends, you know, beyond just football. But I think it's something where, you know, that relationship's always been there, and our kids, you know, grow up on that campus. They're always around, and so I think that is something that's been a special relationship for us and the coaching staff there for a long time.
I definitely think so. I always thought that was so cool when I came over to Louisiana that they were able to have an actual high school on LSU's campus. I mean,
Right.
I'm a huge LSU person, graduated from there, so that was a really cool thing to me. Okay, I want to talk about another guy, Micaiah Tongue. He's a commit to Georgia. Tell me about this guy. What's exciting about him and playing for the University of Georgia, or committing there?
Yeah, Micaiah, again, kind of like Christian, played receiver, played some defensive back. Big kid, very strong. He's probably 6'1", 6'2", but about 210 pounds. Really good body control. I still think is just learning the position of receiver, going to get even better as he moves on into college. But great hands, very physical kid, and you know, again, looking forward to seeing him play as well. I think he's going to do well.
Well, I really hope that all of these guys do well. You've got a ton of commits. I've got 8 right here just on this list. Am I missing any others, or is it just 8 total commits that you've got going?
I think right now that's about where we are. There's a few kids that you know, haven't had that opportunity quite yet. That we're hopeful maybe something happens for them here in the next couple upcoming months. But again, we're very fortunate to have as many kids, you know, with that opportunity as we do.
Okay, we've got about a minute and a half left, Coach. But one quick question: you said you have 24 seniors on your team. How does that affect you for the following year?
Well, we're going to lose a lot. You know, that our typical senior classes are probably anywhere from 12 to 15, 16 guys. So our overall numbers will be down, you know, just having a class that big. And certainly we're not expecting to have 7, 8 commitments, you know, in next year's class. So it'll be a little bit back to the real world for us. But we have some good young players. And just like every high school, you know, you lose good seniors every year. Those younger guys have to step up in the offseason, develop, and kind of take over, you know, their roles in the new team. And so we'll be looking forward to getting those guys to work when we come back to school.
Well, definitely so, and we hope that you can have another undefeated season and maybe a 3rd state championship in a row. You think that might happen next year?
We'll see. We'll see. Long way to go.
Long way to go, but we definitely wish you the best. Thank you so much, Coach Mahaffey, for coming on my show. I just want to thank everyone. I want to thank my producer, Caleb St. Germain, for all of his help with all the graphics and everything else. Alan Traylor, Tommy Chrysan, Jacob Poche. Look, Sports Update with Kate. We are here at Scoreboards. Come visit us. Check the show out on YouTube if you can. Sports Update with Kate. We'll see you next week.